Hello guys and gals, it's your boy Spud here and welcome to Enjoy Life Music, where we talk about everything music related in Japan, Korea, and sometimes Asia in general. And today I have another episode of Who the Hell Is? Today we will be talking about Yucco Miller, or Yucco Miller. So if you recall, I made a review for Yucco's latest album, Colorful Drops. And I'm sure a lot of people are still unaware of who Yucco Miller is, so I figured, maybe I should do Who the Hell Is for this one. Anyway, y'all already know what it is. Let's dive on in. Yucco Miller was born on December 25th, 1990 in Iseshi, Mie Prefecture. And to avoid any confusion, her real name is Onishi Yukiko. Her stage name is simply Yucco. Like most of the musicians I've talked about in my videos, Yucco had a musical history since she was a wee lad. From age 3, Yucco was forced to learn piano, and Yucco despised every single moment of it. Despite learning to play piano, Yucco didn't have a piano at home, so she couldn't practice as much compared to her other classmates. When she was a first-year high school student, she was planning on heading back home from school, but one of her friends was talking about how she wanted to try joining the concert band club, and Yucco figured that she would try it too. At that time, she knew nothing about saxophone and what to expect from it, but she went along with the flow, picked up the sax, and made one note. And just by that one note, she knew that saxophone was about to become her life. During her time in the brass band club, her teacher emphasized that it was important to play music for the music itself. Music wasn't about competing, and he didn't want any of his students to enter competitions. And while everyone played together, in Yucco's spare time, she took her saxophone practice very seriously and entered a few competitions. Eventually she got caught by her teacher, but there were no major penalties, at least from what I've read. And outside of practicing with her classmates and entering competitions, she would go on the streets and perform. Yucco's thinking was she wanted to become a pro, and in order to do that, she needed to do some form of activity to get recognition. Unfortunately, growing up in the countryside didn't provide a ton of opportunities for jazz. Plus, there wasn't a jazz club at her school, so Yucco figured in the meantime she would do live performances by herself and see what happened from there. At this time, Yucco had become a second-year high school student, and unfortunately she didn't have a large repertoire of music at her disposal, but she played what she knew on the streets. Fortunately for her, one of the nearby construction workers and taxi drivers would give her sweets, and she received 120 yen from the taxi driver, so better than nothing, I suppose. And even now, she still has that same 120 yen she received. When Yucco became a senior in high school, the Glenn Miller Orchestra came to her town. Yucco was ecstatic, and she went to meet them. After watching their concert, she waited for them outside and played some tunes. And their reaction was, wow! 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 Along with that wow, they danced to her music. It was at that moment they asked her, would you like to go on tour with us tomorrow? Yucco's dream had finally come true, and her response was, For a brief moment, Yucco had a chance to join the major leagues. It wasn't until some time later that Yucco received an official offer from the Glenn Miller Orchestra to join them on tour as a special guest. Now, the funny thing about Yucco's history is her love for jazz didn't directly come from her parents. Sort of. Both her parents never listened to jazz, but her father would occasionally bring home bootleg jazz CDs. It was basically a mixtape. These CDs had a ton of famous songs such as Left Alone and Take 5. Although she had her first glimpse of jazz, she didn't play jazz during her high school years. Most of her style of music consisted of Disney melodies, but every once in a while she would play jazz classics such as Take the A Train. After graduating from high school, Yucco realized that she wanted to take jazz more seriously. However, her hometown wasn't the ideal place for expanding her knowledge of jazz. So, she would commute to Osaka to take lessons. At the time, Yucco had graduated from high school, but was already learning from one of the greatest saxophonists of our time, the Chick Corea electric band saxophonist, Eric Marienthal. And getting Marienthal to accept her as a student is a story within itself. When she would ask his circle of managers if he would allow for individual lessons, everyone gave her the typical answer of no. But, being the determined girl Yucco was, she decided to go straight to the man herself. So, on the day of one of their concerts, she was wandering around the area until she saw him. She approached him and said in English, "Lesson, please," with Marienthal's response being, "Okay." From that point on, every time Marienthal was in Japan, she would take private lessons from him. And apparently, the work paid off, since in 2014, Yucco and Marienthal performed a student-teacher live performance together. On September 2016, Yucco released her first album, appropriately named Yucco Miller. This album was recorded in New York, and according to Yucco, it was a significantly different experience. 2 years later, Yucco released Saxophonic on March 14th of 2018, and a year later released Kind of Pink on September 11th. As for Kind of Pink, this album holds a special place in my heart because I love the play on words. For those who aren't fluent in the jazz realm, one of the greatest musicians of all time is considered to be Miles Davis. And Mr. Davis released an album, obviously way back in the day, called Kind of Blue. So I like how Yucco kind of had a play on words, since Yucco is known for being very colorful with her pink and black and everything of that sort. So I love the idea of Kind of Pink. And yes, she did make some covers for Miles Davis's songs. One of the best songs on that album, specifically for me at least, is Round Midnight. So good. Now, as you know, I have released a video on Yucco Miller's latest album, Colorful Drops. But before Colorful Drops released, Kind of Pink was my favorite album by her. At the time when I was listening to Kind of Pink, I always thought that Yucco was finally coming into her own. She was finding her own style that worked for her. And yes, I did like Saxophonic. It's just that it was more of a fusion, contemporary jazz mixture. And for me, Kind of Pink just felt a bit more focused. And as you already know, on October 13th, Yucco released her latest album, Colorful Drops. I made a review about it. If you haven't seen that yet, go ahead and check the annotation here, or here, somewhere around there. I'll just end it like this. I want to say I am a huge fan of Yucco Miller. It was thanks to her that I actually found love in the saxophone again. Now, I never talked about this before, but when I was in elementary school, I had very bad asthma. I've always loved jazz. I've always loved the saxophone. I listened to it when I would go to bed and everything of that sort. I remember I was going to learn how to play saxophone when I decided to enter the 5th grade music band. Unfortunately, because of my asthma, I didn't have the lung capacity to really play, so I kind of just pushed it to the side. Luckily, I was already playing piano, so I had that under my belt. But it wasn't until, many years later that I decided to pick it up. I'm still not that great, but I'm working at it as much as I can. あいにく毎日にサックスを練習できないんですけど、練習したらすっごく楽しい。いつかユッコメラさんのライブに行きたいんですけど、今日本にも住んでないんですから、いつ行けるかなと思ってます。まあ、いつかね。とにかく、ユッコメラさんは頑張ってますから、私も頑張ります。I think this is the first time I've ever been this formal speaking Japanese. Alright everybody, that was Who the Hell is Yucco Miller? I just want to give a brief idea of who Yucco is. If you want to know more about her, go ahead and look her up. She has her own YouTube channel. You can watch her play multiple covers. So if you liked the video, go ahead and obliterate that like button like Obelisk the Tormentor. Hello. Hold on for 1 second. Hold on.
Oh, shit. Here we go again.
So, if you liked the video, be sure to obliterate that like button like Obelisk the Tormentor. And if you really liked it, be sure to subscribe and ring that bell to be notified for any videos I upload, because I upload every week. And yeah, it just helps me out. Also, be sure to follow me on Twitter, because I do post on there every once in a while. So there is that. And as always, my friends, enjoy life, enjoy music. Peace.